Hey ho, today we have two stories from relationships. The first story deals with a woman whose 20-year-old roommate wants her creepy 36-year-old boyfriend to stay in their apartment. The second story deals with another woman who's waiting for her abusive husband to just grow out of his abuse. She's pretty delusional. As always, spelling and grammar mistakes courtesy of Reddit. Lol. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps this channel grow. Thank you. This story is titled, My 21 Roommate 20 Wants to Have Her Boyfriend 36 Stay Over for a Week. I don't really know what to do. For context, we're both in college. Juniors, to be exact, but she started school early so she's a bit younger. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment, just the two of us. We met at orientation as freshmen and have been pretty close since, so we decided to move into the off-campus apartments together. She's a good friend, an okay roommate, but I try to talk to her about whatever issues we have and be upfront about it. Also, we live in St. Louis. Okay, so about 2 to 3 months ago, my roommate, friend joined a Discord. A BDSM Discord. She'd just gotten out of a 4 to 5 month relationship, following what was a long-term relationship with this guy who was an arse. I think after those two, she wanted to try something different, explore her sexuality some more, etc. Ending up talking to this 36-year-old guy from California. They established an open relationship, and they talk a lot on Discord. Open relationship as in they can screw whoever they want on the side and the other party doesn't have an issue with it. Apparently while I was away for the holidays, he had flown over from California and they spent a couple days together. I had no knowledge of this, and was a bit freaked out. A guy nearly twice our age really into BDSM knew where we lived, but whatever, I just started locking my bedroom door more. Anyways, I finally had the chance to talk to him over Discord one night when my roommate and I were drinking some wine. He'd been smoking, but was not drinking. We ended up getting pretty wasted. He said some things I thought weren't entirely appropriate, and even took advantage of our drunken states to ask us to do some things sober we would never do. Nothing heinous or especially awful, but definitely something that looking back makes me super uncomfortable. That was a week or so ago. Last night, again while we were drinking with some friends, my roommate asked if he could stay over for a week. I at least had the foresight to tell her to ask me when I'm sober, and I'm so glad I did. So here I am, trying to decide if this man twice our age that I've never met can fly over from California and stay in our tiny 2-bedroom apartment for a week. She's had boyfriends over before, and I'd been okay with it because they were pretty respectful guys who kept to themselves and didn't put me in any uncomfortable situations. But I've already been in a few with this guy over a Discord call. I don't want to be a downer and say no, because flying here and then getting a place to stay can be pretty expensive, but at the same time, I don't really want this guy here for a full week. She also pretty regularly lets me have people over too. Friends, mostly girls who don't stay the night, but still. Maybe I'm being a prude and overreacting. What should I do? Comment 1. This guy is bad news, and your instincts are telling you that it would be dangerous to let him stay with you. Trust your instincts. This is a man preying on a girl twice his age and taking advantage of you when you're under the influence. And that's when he's across the country. You absolutely need to put your foot down. Your roommate might be upset, but it's much more important to protect yourself. You can use the pandemic as an excuse. It's a valid reason in itself, but this would be a bad idea even if there weren't a pandemic. Also, it's time to stop hanging out with him on Discord. You can tell her that he's made you uncomfortable there and so you are going to take a little more distance. Comment 2. Dude who's already pushing boundaries wants to fly in a pandemic. No thank you, you're completely justified to put your foot down about him visiting. If he's serious about seeing her, he can get a hotel. I'm sure the prices are rock bottom right now, just like airfare. Although he honestly sounds like a creep and I'm always skeptical of people who are into BDSM and pushing boundaries, that's a pretty threatening mix. Comment 3. A BDSM player who wheedles drunk people into doing things they wouldn't do sober is what they call a desperately unsafe human disaster zone. Never play with this person in kink community jargon. Comment 4. Your roommate is being rude and inconsiderate having a guest fly over during a pandemic, especially when there are variants being discovered in California. But ultimately, she does pay rent and gets as much say in who comes over as you do. Try to get her to compromise and get him a hotel room. At least some of the nights. If she doesn't listen to you, don't renew your lease with this girl. Comment 5. This gives me a very creepy vibe. Any guy pushing 40 that's willing to prey on a young woman who's 1 year removed from being a teenager isn't roommate material, even if it's for a week. Your roommate seems like someone who enjoys trouble and is eventually going to find more than she can handle. Don't be the person she pulls down into the cesspool with her. Once your lease is up, find another roommate. Update. Thank you all for confirming I'm not currently living in an alternate reality where that would be okay. Definitely will be telling her no, and probably keep distance from him when they're on a call together. Comment from I just read it. Here's the funniest comment I saw in the responses. She met him via a BDSM Discord. Tell them you are tied up for the week. This story is titled, How Long Do I Wait for Him to Grow? My 31 female husband, 29 male, and I have been married for 2.5 years. Not long, I know. Before we married, we dated for 3 years and were best friends for several years before that. I've always held a tremendous amount of admiration for him. He's the most intelligent human I know, and I see him capable of achieving so much in his life. He truly and genuinely cares about others, particularly those who have earned his loyalty. I see a kindred spirit in him, someone who deals daily with the repercussions of childhood trauma, who wants better for his life than his younger years set him up to achieve. And who isn't, or so I've always thought, afraid to work hard to improve his situation. We've always fought a lot, even back when we were dating, but the good has mostly outweighed the bad. As we both work on ourselves and continue to get to know each other on a deeper level, I've always just assumed the fighting would abate. While he has a tendency to become angry and emotional and confront perceived slights with a vengeance, I have a tendency to withdraw and wait for emotions to cool before attempting to resolve issues. About a year into our marriage, the fighting had reached a point where I didn't feel safe being in the same space as him. It became physical on occasion. He would stand in my doorway screaming at me about what a worthless piece of shite I was. I would feel afraid and trapped and try and leave the house, and he would physically restrain me. I would fight back. We were sleeping in separate bedrooms, with me often keeping my door locked to prevent him from bursting in to yell at me and take out his frustrations on me. When he was accepted into a prestigious PhD program in a different state, I opted not to move with him. Instead, I moved back to my hometown to begin my career as a nurse. He agreed that it was the best decision for us both. We would work on ourselves, and when my residency program at my hospital ended, I would move out of state to join him. All this went according to plan, and I followed him out of state last August. For a while, things were okay. We would have periods of calm and treating each other lovingly. Lots of snuggling and spending time together. Hiking and watching TV together on the couch were our primary bonding activities. We haven't had sex but once for over a year now, but he takes an antidepressant that decreases his libido, and I'm not upset at him for this, although I do miss the intimacy. We both struggle with seasonal depression. I attack mine with a rigorous regimen of yoga and mindfulness journaling. He deals with his by smoking a lot of weed. I don't use a lot. Hyperbolically, we spend hundreds of dollars a month on it. Things have been getting worse though. He seems to take everything that comes out of my mouth as an insult. I'll be leaving for work in the evening, I work nights, and see him sitting on the couch and say something like, "Have a good night, babe. I'm glad you're getting to relax for a little bit," and he'll believe I'm judging him for being lazy. The truth is that he works so incredibly hard at school, and I truly am glad he is able to occasionally squeeze in a few hours of YouTube and chill time. Small, benign, perceived slights like this will build up until I have a day off of work, and then he'll explode at me. He'll scream at me about how worthless I am. I'm absolutely not. How I hold myself above him because I think I work harder. I don't. I work 48 to 60 hours a week as a nurse to support us while he's in school, but he easily meets or surpasses this with all his schoolwork. How I'm withholding money from him, I'm not. He gets the same amount of money I do, and everything extra goes to paying off credit cards. How I don't do anything around the house, I do plenty. But not while I'm in the middle of a work stretch, which I feel is reasonable, and many other issues he has with me that simply aren't true or real. He'll say, "This is how I feel, you need to address the feeling." I'll say, "But the feeling isn't based in reality, and I don't know what to do about that." I make every effort to be kind and understanding. But when he starts calling me names, selfish biatch, freaking see you next Tuesday, lying asshole, gaslighter, you name it and he's said it, the only option I see is to remove myself from the situation. I've left to stay at a hotel before after he ripped the blankets off of me when I was trying to sleep after a 5-day stretch of 12-hour shifts at the hospital. He was seeing a therapist up until November, when she became unavailable because of COVID. It seemed to be helping. I saw a therapist back before we both moved, but I have not sought additional treatment because I see myself growing at a rate consistent with what I saw back when I was in therapy, and for myself at least. I don't believe it to be worth the money I was spending on it. I don't know what to do. I don't know how long to wait for this man who I see so much promise in, but seems stuck in his hole of self-hatred and refuses to let me in or believe I care for him. I don't know how much more of myself it is appropriate to extend to someone who is clearly struggling with his burden, but does not treat me with respect or create a safe and calm environment for me to coexist with him in. After a paycheck, I have the money to move out and create a life for myself, but it would involve leaving him with nothing. I would not be able, and I'm not sure if I should be willing, to support us both in separate households, and it would feel like a repeat of us living apart again, which was clearly not successful. If I leave him, it would have to be for good. I'm not willing to waste more of my life waiting for him to see me as an equal with a valid perspective and needs. If I leave, it will be to move on with my life without him in it. Comment 1. This is not an extended emotional crisis. This man is projecting his own shite onto you and as a result has been verbally abusing you for years, to the point where you legitimately felt like you needed to clarify that actually you're not worthless to strangers. Please think about that. The answer is it's not healthy for you to extend any of yourself to a man who for 5 years has not treated you with respect. Don't wait around for someone to start respecting you. Do what you need to get out. You've cared for this person and supported them for 5 years, and basic human decency and a safe home together are truly the baselines, and he's not living up to them. Comment 2. Divorce him, divorce him, divorce him now. You didn't feel safe around him, that's enough to leave. He's abusive, this will continue and get worse. Leave his ass. Comment 3. Your husband has been verbally and physically abusive to you. As a woman who has lived this scenario in the past, I can tell you that I would not live this way for 1 minute more. You've become the scapegoat for all his negative emotions. The same thing has happened to me 3 different times. It is the reason I will never marry again. I value my peace and personal safety above everything else. Update. Thank you all so much. I can't believe I've been so stupid. The time to stop waiting for him to grow was before we got married. I informed him of our impending divorce 1.5 hours ago. He began throwing things at me and screaming at the top of his lungs. What struck me most was that it didn't even frighten me because he's done it so many times before. I have an Airbnb lined up for the next 2 weeks while I find an apartment. We'll contact a lawyer tomorrow. I'll stay in this trash town that I moved to for him for a year while I save for an out-of-state move and continue paying down my debt. Thank you so very much for listening. Please check out my other videos and like and subscribe.